Mic set, blue checks, straight buckets, no loose lips. Chin prep for the match deck. Spaced out was the concept. Lit nights through the 2-6. Trillville got the.
Y'all, you already know me. It's Ariel, all of them, yeah. Go School Retro NBA episode 9. This one is going to be a banger because guess what? I got my first former player on the platform, and it's none other than Eldridge Recasner. If you guys don't know who he is played with 4 different teams in the NBA, more so known for the Atlanta Hawks. Started out in the CBA, came into the NBA, and started doing this thing and started playing against legends, man. So it's definitely going to be a dope episode, and you guys are going to love this one.
When you find yourself down by as many as the Sixers are, 48-24. Make it 51-24. Recasner.
Hawks with that 10-point lead. Recasner on the drive. The runner for Eldridge. Recasner.
From Stackhouse and neatly set up Recasner.
Look, over a half of this last quarter in.
Recasner gets the lane on the drive. 15 feeds Recasner going in on Harper. Scored and a foul. Here at the United Center the other day when we taped part of that program. Recasner on the drive down the lane. Oh, Eldridge Recasner right there. Recasner, tough shot. Oh, man.
Tough. He's made 2 tough shots.
And aggressive. Recasner with the fadeaway jumper hits.
So that definitely was amazing, Eldridge, especially telling those stories about with Robert Pack and Gary Payton. I also see that you got into a little bit of coaching. What was that like as far as your experience went with that?
It's cool. You know, I always thought I would be a coach, man, and it just didn't work out that way, Ariel. You know, it's kind of frustrating and it's kind of disappointing all in the same, man. Because you see all these guys that never played, you know, that got coaches positions. And, you know, I just, honest to God, don't understand it, man. You look out there on the floor, and 90% of the players look like me. You know, then you look at the coaches, they don't look like me. You know, there's not one black head coach in the Pac-12 conference, which is mind-boggling to me. You know, you're not winning any sporting events in basketball or football without black players. But I guess they think they can win without black coaches. So, you know, hopefully that changes. You know, it's always been my dream to coach. I had a coaching job for a little bit this year in a league called the TBL, the Basketball League, but it just didn't work out. So I'm still doing my commentating thing. So I'm still around the game. But there's a lot of guys that want to coach, man, that's former players. But you got to jump through so many damn loops, and it's like being in a maze, man. I honest to God, just don't understand it. But I think until we get more black people in positions of ownership, it's not going to change, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a sad state of it because I've been noticing that, especially in the college game, how I'm starting to see a little bit difference when it comes to parity when it comes to that. And I think the college should basically fix that. NCAA should basically fix that problem. And I hope it does come to an end soon because there's a lot of wonderful coaches around here, black coaches that definitely deserve an opportunity. And I'm praying that happens for sure. So I didn't see that now you get into commentary now, as far as when you went to the wayside with the coaching. As far as commentary, what made you want to pursue that? How did you get your first opportunity in that, and how far do you want to go with as far as the commentary with the CBS radio that you're working with right now?
You know what? I wasn't planning on that at all, man. A friend of mine reached out to me one time about going on the radio, and the first time I did it, you know, people here in Seattle loved it. I went on a station called KJR, 950 KJR. Obviously, everybody knew who I was because I played at UW. That's like being in the D.C. area playing for Georgetown. You know, everybody watches those games. And it just kind of took off from there. Never really thought about doing TV, but when the Pac-12 announced that they were going to have a network in 2012, I had been doing radio about 10 years at that point. And I said, you know what, it'd be pretty cool, you know, to do television. And first time I did it, got great feedback. I thought I did a great job. And, you know, I love the game like everybody else, man. It looks like you're a fan of basketball. I played in the NBA, but I'm still a fan. You know, I mean, I watched Michael Jordan. I watched Kobe Bryant. You know, I watched Reggie Miller. I watched all those guys, Hakeem Olajuwon, when I was in the league. Even though I was in the league playing with and against them, I was still a fan. So, and I just like watching the next up-and-coming players, you know, come through the Pac-12 conference. It's had some fantastic players with James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Brandon Roy, Nate Robinson, DeJounte Murray. I mean, you name it. The Pac-12 doesn't get as much credit as the ACC and the Big East did back in the day. But when you talk about individual talent, there hasn't been a conference that's better, especially when you go way back, when you go to Kareem and Walton and guys like that. So I'm a fan of the game. I like following the guys' careers. Paolo Banchero, been watching him since he was a little kid, ended up being the number one pick in the draft, NBA Rookie of the Year. So I really enjoy it, man. And it's fun going back to those old campuses, because when I go to Oregon State, it looks exactly the same as when I played against Gary Payton 35 years ago. Nothing's changed. So it's fun being back on some of the campuses.
That's definitely dope, man. That's dope, man. I'm sure you came across a lot of like good players that that I didn't get to mention yet because there's too many to name, like you said. But as far as like I want your honest opinion, right? As far as you've been in the league and you played in CBA and everything, who's the toughest player you had to guard out of everybody?
Oh, that's I would say Jordan for sure, but if you take him out the equation, man, the hardest guy to guard was Allen Iverson. I mean, you just couldn't stop him. Yeah, I mean, the answer was the truth, man. And I remember playing against him. We were in Atlanta when he was with Philly, and I was guarding him, and I remember saying to myself, the killer crossover is coming, so just get up on him real close and make him go one way, force him towards the Dikembe. So that was my philosophy. I was going to try to crowd him, make him go left to right, and funnel him right to the Dikembe where I knew I had help. And right as I got ready to push up on him, we were right in front of our Atlanta Hawks bench. Coach Wilkins, Lenny Wilkins, the Hall of Famer, said, Eldridge, back up. And I was like, back up? He said, yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, well, damn, Coach, I don't want to back up. If I back up, he's going to hit me with the crossover. But I couldn't say no to Lenny Wilkins. So I backed up, man, and I knew it was coming. The next thing I know, he hits me with the crossover. I did a complete 360. And by the time I turned all the way back around to find him, man, he was at the rim laying the ball up over the Dikembe. So I say Allen Iverson was the toughest guy outside of Michael Jordan to guard because he, all the guys that had those shakes with the rock, it were hard for me to guard. The Tim Hardaways, the Allen Iversons, the Chris Jacksons, the Reggie Millers, Ray Allens, the catch and shoot guys that were like I was. I knew their game because I played the same way, but those guys that had handles and had shakes, man, they were the toughest to defend, and I'll put Allen Iverson right at the top of that list.
Oh, okay, that's dope, man. That's dope.
Yeah, he was the truth, man.
He was, man. And when you talking about that, mute to my, because I always say out of my fandom for the Knicks, my favorite all time is Allen Iverson. I watched him through the whole college journey. I remember the whole starting five that whole season. So when they lost in the championship game, I was just all Hoya. That's why to this day I wear the Hoya jersey, even though we've had some dark years since then. But it's amazing hearing the stories, man, because like that's one guy. I did an episode about Allen Iverson, and I covered him, and like I said, it was so easy to me to speak about him because I knew him like basically off the back of my head, and it's just wonderful you telling me the stories about him, and that's pretty cool, man. So okay.
No, he was a guy. I think he was a guy. He was a guy that I liked, man. Obviously, you respected his game, but I liked Allen more as a person because he was always cool. He didn't talk a lot of smack, unless you said something to him. And I'll share a funny story with you, man, because it's probably the funniest damn thing that I ever seen when I was in the NBA. So we're playing at Philly, and when you get to Philly, there's like a bridge that goes over from the parking lot to the arena, but there's a road that goes under where the players were parked. So I'm sitting on the bridge. We got to the arena. I got off the bus. I'm sitting outside. And I'm on the bridge and I'm looking down towards the parking area where the 76ers players park. And I see a burgundy Bentley convertible with a white interior. But I see these two young brothers in there with these big old afros. I'm like, well, who in the hell is these two young cats driving this convertible Bentley? Where was AI and one of his boys? He hadn't gotten his hair braided yet. So his hair was in this big old afro. So I'm like, well, who's these two little brothers? And when I look, I say, oh, that's Iverson. That's Allen Iverson. He didn't warm up the whole time, Ariel. The whole time before the game, somebody was braiding his hair, and they got done right before tip-off. Then he came out there and he gave us the business. So I love AI, man. And I think the thing I like about him the most is people want him to change from who he was when he was in Virginia. But he kept all of his friends that he grew up with. He kept it real. He was an icon, man. He was a game changer. He made the cornrows popular. The street looked popular. And that's one of the reasons that the NBA implemented the suit and tie rule was because of Allen Iverson.
Yeah, we know that. We know we
Yep.
definitely know about that.
Yep.
Cool, man. So as far as like obviously you played in the playoffs. What was that like as far as like playing in a playoff atmosphere with the Hawks team that pretty much a lot of people didn't really give them that much recognition? Because I remember those Hawks teams, and they, obviously the Knicks, we swept them in the playoffs, but I remember how gritty they were. I determined that team as gritty. They were kind of like the Cleveland Cavaliers in the same sense, where they were like an underdog, but they didn't get a lot of recognition. So as far as playing in the playoffs, like what was that like playing with that team and you guys, basically almost tying that series against the Bulls, obviously, when you got high in the fourth quarter? Like, how was it like playing in that atmosphere, in the playoff atmosphere?
It was great. Like I said, I think we might have won 21, 22, 23 games in a row at home that year in Atlanta. We had a great team, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dikembe Mutombo, I think 96, 97 might have been back-to-back defensive player of the year. But I thought he was the second best defensive player on our team because Mookie Blaylock was the truth. We had Mookie, we had Dikembe, one of the best perimeter defenders. I say Mookie Blaylock, Gary Payton, Derek Harper were the best point guard defenders in that time. And Dikembe, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing were the best defensive centers. So you think about it, we had two of the top defenders in the league on the same team. Steve Smith out of Michigan State, fantastic guard at 6'8", Christian Laettner. Everybody knows about Christian Laettner at Duke. Doesn't get enough credit for how good he was. 6'11" man, could shoot the three, could handle the rock, could post up, he could do it all. So we had a great team. We actually went to Chicago, and we should have been up 2-0 going back to Atlanta. Mookie Blaylock got pushed out of bounds with I think just under a minute left in one of those first two games. The ref didn't call anything. Obviously, we won one, so we went back to Atlanta, tied 1-1. That's back in the days when you did 2-3-2. 2 games on a team with the best record, 3 games on the other team. So we played 2 games in Chicago, and we played 3 games in Atlanta. We lost all 3 of them. Dennis Rodman went into his act. He started picking fights with Christian Laettner and Allen Henderson. And, Mike was Mike, man. I mean, 63,000 people came to one of our games that year he retired in 1998. Ariel. 63,000 people at a damn basketball game, man.
Damn.
That was insane.
That's
we played the game in the Georgia Dome. So Mike was the truth, man. I mean, I can't say enough about the guy. You knew he was gonna get the rock. There just wasn't nothing you could do about it, man. Like I said, watching him play was like watching a Hollywood movie, but it wasn't scripted. Cass was trying, they just couldn't do nothing with him. He's the best I've ever seen.
I know, because he stole, just like how you said, he stole many championships that the Knicks could have won. He blocked everybody in the East. Just put it that way. There was just no way. It was like a brick wall you couldn't get through.
Let me tell you, Ariel, the reason I have respect for him, man, my rookie year in 95 when I was with the Rockets, the first time I played against him, man, he was on me like white on rice. I was like, damn. I was thinking to myself, shit, did somebody tell him I said something about him or something? So finally I asked him and I was like, man, why you playing me so tight? Because most of the time my rookie year, guys didn't know who I was. So they would back off me, let me have shots, and I could shoot the rock. And after I knocked down a couple of jumpers, they would play me pretty close and guard me like an NBA guy. But the first time I played against Mike, man, he was guarding me like I was Joe Dumars or Reggie Miller. So I said, damn, man, why you playing me so tight? And he looked me in my eye and he said, man, I just want you to know why I'm considered the best. And I said, damn, if he's going to play me like that, I know damn well these other cats that got bigger names don't have a chance. But that's just the type of competitor that he was, man. And that's why I got on some Jordan sweats right now. That's why I still wear the Jordan gear, because I respect him for the fact that he went out there, and if you were a fan, he was going to give you his money's worth, man. There wasn't no damn load management taking no days off. If you paid money to see Michael Jordan, you was going to leave there with a smile on your face because he was going to give you your money's worth.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And the thing is, I've known that, like, from reading multiple, reports on players where they talk about Jordan. And especially you hit the nail right on the head, man. He was just a fierce competitor. Didn't take no nights off. And even if you were his friend, man, I mean, him and Patrick Ewing are like this. And they've even gotten each other's faces. So it was just nobody, put it this way, nobody was exempt from Jordan's wrath, because if he wanted to win, he was going to win, and he was determined to win. That's why I say he's the greatest of all time, and I don't debate that with anybody.
So yeah, I'll share a story with you, man, and it still blows my mind to this day. that year in '98 when we was playing the Bulls in the playoffs. Like I said, I had been knowing Steve Kerr since 1986. And you've watched NBA games before, Ariel. You know, when the starters are warming up after the two-line layups, the starters are shooting. Normally the bench guys on the floor stretching, you know, so the starters could get out there and get their shots up. So the starters were shooting around, bench guys on the floor stretching. I'm near half court on my side of the court. Steve Kerr is near half court on his side of the court. So I was like, yo, Steve, what's up, man? What's happening? And he's like, well, Eldridge, I can't talk to you. So I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I can't talk. I was like, what do you mean you can't talk? He was like, well, Michael doesn't want anybody fraternizing with the enemy. So I started laughing because I thought he was joking. The next thing I know, man, he gets up and moves all the way down towards the baseline. And I was like, wow, you got to be kidding. He's like, yeah, man, Mike don't mess around with that. So yeah, Jordan was a beast, man, when it came to putting your game face on and winning.
Yeah, he's definitely a fierce competitor, and that's definitely. And then the story you're telling me, man, I'm gonna remember it the rest of my life because it's good. It's no better than to actually hear a former player talk about Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, and I definitely appreciate that. It's definitely dope. So as far as your like playing career, in your opinion, playing against all these greats, these great teammates you've had, who was the most you learned under?
I think I learned a lot from Lenny Wilkens from the coach's standpoint because he played the point guard position and most of the plays we ran were for the point guard. And I think that's because he was a point guard. But player wise, I probably learned more from Kenny Smith and Steve Smith. I played with Kenny in Houston. He played for obviously he played for Dean Smith, and there's a bunch of little things that I didn't know coming from Washington that Kenny Smith knew playing at North Carolina. And the same for Steve Smith, because I remember Steve, you know, the little Smitty move, the Hezzy move. He had that, one of the best moves in NBA history, but he also had all other little tricks, man. I would ask him, you know, how do you know that, man? He was like, oh, man, Judd Heathcote, my coach at Michigan State. So I think I learned more from those two guys probably than anybody else. And coaching-wise, definitely Lenny Wilkens because he played the point guard position as well.
And that's somebody for you to say that name, Lenny Wilkens, because Lenny Wilkens' name ring bells like Sunday at 12 o'clock. He was a phenomenal player, obviously a great coach, and I'm actually gonna do an episode about him pretty soon. So him and Downtown Fred Brown. So stay tuned on that.
Yeah,
so
Lenny's one of the best, man. Lenny's one of the best people. I got more respect for him as a person because he doesn't carry himself like somebody that's a 3-time Hall of Famer. You know, some of the coaches, man, I'm not gonna mention no name, but some of them are so goddamn arrogant. You know, when you're around him, you just want to slap the hell out of him. But Lenny's just like, you know, he's 85 years old now, so he's like your granddad. Just a great guy and somebody that has a lot of respect for. And a New York legend, man. He's from right there. He's from right there in New York. So yeah, I call him Lenny the Legend. That's what I call him. Yeah.
Question I have for you was, who is basically right now, who's your favorite player, youngest player that you think could take the keys in this league right now?
Favorite young player in the league? Oh wow, that's a great question. Man, I didn't watch a lot of the young guys like the rookies this year. I know Paolo Banchero was from here in Seattle where I live. I know he was rookie of the year, but I didn't get a chance to see him a lot. As far as the young superstars, I really like Devin Booker. I don't know if that's too old for you. And Jamal Murray, man. I think I'm really impressed with Jamal Murray's doing considering he had a ACL tear. So to see him play the way that he's playing, coming off the type of injury that he had, is it's pretty amazing, man. I like the old guys though. You know, I got to be honest. My favorite players to watch are probably Kyrie when he plays and KD. I mean, I love those guys. I like Booker. I saw a little bit of the guy from Sacramento. What's his name from Kentucky? I'm drawing a blank. De'Aaron Fox. You know, I like his game. But I see out of all those guys, I think Devin Booker took his game to another level this year, and Jamal Murray, I think, is putting himself. He's kind of on the outskirts of being mentioned as one of the stars in the league, even though he plays with Jokic. I mean, I really like his game.
Those are some wonderful names we came up with because I agree with you on everything. And especially with Jamal Murray, because I don't know that you probably would know too as well. Doesn't he remind you a little bit of Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf with a little bit of fat lever? And
man, the only person that reminds me of Mahmoud is Steph Curry. Come on, Ariel. I don't think. See, people don't know. People don't know Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, man. I mean,
I
I
did
knew
an
about
episode about him too.
I knew about Mahmoud before he kind of hit LSU because I'm from New Orleans and he's from Gulfport, Mississippi. And man, I'm telling you, he had a reputation in high school. And you know, most of your listeners, because you're younger than me, gonna probably be too young, but Chris Jackson used to foul out entire SEC backcourts, man. You hear what I'm telling you? I mean, like all the damn guards on the team would foul out trying to guard this dude. I mean, he was phenomenal. You know, he played with Shaq, Stanley Roberts, and a guy named Singleton at LSU. They didn't win anything, but he's one of the coldest cats I've ever seen with the rock in his hand and shooting the ball. Like I said, man, he was Steph Curry before Steph Curry. You know, but he had a problem with the national anthem. He wouldn't stand for it, and the NBA blackballed him, man. So people never got a chance to see him in his prime. Kind of had a rebirth in the Big Three, but Chris Jackson back in the day, woo, man, he was a problem. Best pump fake ever, in my opinion. I mean, he pump faked me one time, and I jumped for it, and Mario Ellie jumped for it, and we damn near knocked each other out trying to go for the damn block, man. Chris Jackson was the truth. Yeah.
That jump shot was lethal, and I said it. I said it in my episode when I dedicated to him, Mr. Mississippi basketball. His jump shot was so like I still remember it to this day how clean it was. That you could just know like the minute he released it, you could just tell it was going like. And the thing is like you know a great shooter is when they hit when you hear that that bottom.
The thing about him that was so impressive, Ariel, is most guys still to this day, if they hit you with a killer crossover, they go into the hole. You know, Tim Hardaway, Allen Iverson, Kyrie Irving, Jamal Crawford. They hit you with the killer crossover and they shake you and they go into the basket. That dude would hit you with the killer crossover, then he'll shoot a three, which is added like insult to injury. I'm a big Chris Jackson fan, man, because like I said, he was the truth, ahead of his time, and people just didn't get a chance to see him in his prime, man. I mean, we were teammates for a hot second when I signed my 10-day in Denver. He had that Tourette syndrome where he was twitching and stuff all the time. That made him hard to guard too, because hell, I remember guarding him in practice, and he wasn't even trying to make a move, but he was twitching from the Tourette's. And hell, I thought he was trying to shake me. So yeah, but Chris Jackson was the truth, man.
He would hit you with the okey doke. I touched on that too because a lot of people didn't know that he had the Tourette syndrome, and I knew that.
Yeah.
But it's not really talked about unless you really do your research, and people don't know because obviously you got to bridge that gap between the young and the new generation that don't know about this. So that's where I come into play, and that's why I talk about all the greats as much as I can. So basically, another question I wanted to ask you was how far do you see yourself going in the sports radio industry? Do you want to keep pursuing it, like go any further? Stay as is?
No, I'll tell you my goal, Ariel. You know, right now I work for the Pac-12 conference. I do a little bit of stuff with ESPN. I do a little bit of stuff with Fox. I've been trying to get on ESPN because that's where all the eyeballs are. It's been tough, man. I don't have an agent, but my ultimate goal is to be a color analyst for an NBA team, and I'm hoping Seattle gets the Sonics back. The NBA just got their new collective bargaining agreement. From everybody that I talked to in the league, there's going to be some expansion, and it looks like not looks like, but it sounds like Seattle and Las Vegas are going to be the two that get the team. And I'm hoping if Seattle gets the team, man, I'm hoping I can apply for that job and get it. You know, I've been doing TV for about 10 years, so I definitely know I'm capable. I know I'm ready. So that will be my ultimate goal because I think that's a little bit easier than being a coach. You know, you touched on Robert Pack earlier, who I went to high school with. And Robert's been all over the damn United States with teams, man. It seems like he's in one place for 4 years. Oklahoma City for 4 years, New Orleans for 4 years, Washington, D.C. for 4 years. And, you know, you're just constantly bouncing around. I don't want to do that, man. So if I can land with Seattle, which is home for me right now, as a color analyst with the Seattle Supersonics, man, I'll ride that till I retire, you know. And just being around the game, I don't need to make $5-6 million a year. You know, if I can get 300,000-400,000, which is I think what these guys are getting as TV guys, if I can do that area, man, I'm cool. You know, I'll kick back and just talk smack on the mic and have a good time with it. And I'll leave the stress to the guys over there on the sideline coaching, worried about if they're gonna get fired every year.
And you know what? That's actually a great plan of yours. And I think the way you're so animated about it and the way you're talking about it, brother, I think you'll get it. I think you get it. And I'm a main one. I literally put it a couple of days ago, and I say religiously, Seattle needs to come back to the NBA. because I remember that Key Arena when I used to watch it on NBA on NBC.
Used to
That Key
rock.
Arena used to be rocking, and I know you could say that because you played there before, so you would know way more better because you were live and direct right there. Like what was like playing in front of those crazy fans?
They got a new place now. It's called Climate Pledge Arena. I'm pretty sure you've seen it on TV. They got a new hockey team, the Seattle Kraken. But the key was off the chain, man. I remember in '96 when the Sonics made it to the NBA Finals, they beat us in the second round with the Houston Rockets. They actually swept us. I didn't play a lot in that series, but Key Arena used to rock, man. Gary Payton, the Rain Man, Sean Kemp, George Karl, Detlef Shrimp, Sam Perkins, they had a squad, so they used to rock in there. And people here love basketball, man. I don't think anybody in the city of Seattle thought that it would take so long to get a team back. So when the Sonics do come back, which I think is going to be in the next couple of years, Climate Pledge Arena is going to be one of the hottest arenas in the league, man, because we've got one of the greatest fan bases. You know who Steve Ballmer is. Steve Ballmer owns the Los Angeles Clippers, so he had a preseason game here last year. The Clippers played the Portland Trailblazers and was sold out for a preseason game, man. So I know people have the passion to support a basketball team. The Seattle Kraken, this was their second year. Soon as they released their tickets, they sold out for 3 years on the season tickets. So I know the Sonics are going to sell out. It's going to be a great place. And, I'm not sure if it'll happen or not, Ariel, but I would love to be a part. I'd love to be a part of that, man, and be one of the voices for the new Seattle Supersonics. That'd be pretty cool.
Let me tell you something, Eldridge. If they bring it back to the NBA, soon as the Knicks get over there, I'll be booking my. I got a friend that lives in Seattle, so I know I got somewhere to stay, and I'll go watch a game over there, and I definitely be reliving in my past because I went to opening night and I seen a guy in there. He had a Seattle Supersonics hat, and me and him was having a conversation just like me and you, and we were like, "Yo, they got to get Seattle back in the NBA, man. That crowd is crazy." It's bananas, and I just hope that the NBA really does them justice and brings them back because those days were crazy with Gary Payne, Hersey Hawkins too, a guy that
the Hawk, yep.
Teams. Remember he was the Jordan stopper for a while. Hersey Hawkins,
Ruben Patterson, yeah, Kobe stopper, yeah.
Patterson.
I'll say this, Ariel. It sounds like you're a big time Knicks fan, and I just want to. If most of your listeners are back there on the East Coast, I just want to say rest in peace to Willis Reed. Willis gave me my first scholarship offer when I came out of high school, man. I went to his funeral just a few months ago, and I want to salute and thank the Knicks organization. Scott Perry, Allen Houston, Walt Frazier, Mike Breen, some other people from the front office came to support Willis at his funeral, and I won't be like Walt on the mic. You're not gonna see me with no crazy outfits and nothing on like that. Or using the words that you got to pull out the Webster's dictionary to understand what he's talking about. But I love talking the game, man. I love commentating games. And like I said, I hope if Seattle gets the team back, I hope I could be one of the guys that could be one of the voices of the team.
I think you'll get there, man. And we're gonna remember this conversation. And then when you do land it and you publicly announce it, I'm gonna be like, Eldridge, remember when I had you on the podcast? You got this, man.
There you go. There you go.
You made me believe it because I'm listening to a lot of stuff you're saying. You sound like me with the positivity, encouraging others to pursue their dreams. And that's why I do what I do, because I wanted to bridge that gap, because I always felt like, okay, I do Knick content, right? So, but what can keep going? Once the Knick season ends, because it will end, what else do we have going the rest of the year? And I said, oh, well, I know about the eras. I know about 70s, 80s. I've read a lot of books, seen a lot of film, have uncles that taught me about the game. My first favorite player was Sidney Moncrief because my uncle was a big Sidney Moncrief guy. That's one of my favorite old school players ever was Sidney Moncrief. So I said, you know what? Let me talk about these guys because they don't get a lot of love. They don't get a lot of respect around the league. You don't hear their name. Once they retire, people kind of like just throw them to the wayside. And they got to realize, man, you got to know, in order to know, about your future, you got to know about your past, right? So there's a lot of greats that came before the LeBrons, before the Stephs, before the Dwayne Wades, before all these greats that walk through the league right now. And I feel like those guys paved the way to where we are now. Why I grew the love of game for basketball because of them. And obviously, so now it's just the talent gap to me, it has its subtle differences, but to me, they both, you put some players in today's era, they would thrive. You put some players in right now in this era, back in the days, they would thrive too. So There's just so many greats to talk about, man. There's too many to name.
Yeah, one of the things I've always appreciated about playing in Madison Square Garden is I just thought the knowledge of the game. Even if you were the visiting team and you made a great play, the Knicks fans would show you some love, man. And the greatest shot of my career happened right there in Madison Square Garden. I remember doing a 360 jump shot off the glass, man, and talking smack to Spike Lee. Spike as well came to Willis's funeral and represented. But I remember that shot like it was yesterday, man. I think Chris Childs and Charlie Ward, but Chris Childs was guarding me at the time. The ball got deflected and the shot clock was running down. I just drove real hard left. Wasn't planning on shooting a 360 area, but I jump stopped so hard, my momentum just started making me turn. And as I was in the air, I was like, I realized, damn, I'm about to do a 360. And I said, man, if you don't make this shot, Coach Wilkins is going to kill you. And when I shot it off the glass and it went in, man, that was the best shot of my NBA career. It only came in at number 9 on ESPN Top 10 Plays. I don't know what the hell was up with that, but every now and then I'll go Google myself and pull up that video and smile a little bit.
And that's wonderful because you could take that the rest of your life, man, that you was on ESPN Top 10 and you're right there, man. You can always pull up clips of yourself and that's wonderful, man. So I see that you still, obviously you reside in Seattle. What is it like living out there in Seattle? Like, what's the kind of life that, as far as like, how does the life go in Seattle? I know it's kind of quiet from the people that I know that
it's kind of quiet, and I live in the suburbs. So if somebody's living in Manhattan, which would be downtown Seattle, I kind of live like in Westchester County, so okay. I'm in an area called Bellevue. So it's a lot of trees. It's pretty cool, man. Everybody has a dream of something. So I'm living in what was my dream home. I got 4 kids, but I still go back to New Orleans. As a matter of fact, I'm headed back on July 1st to do a free basketball camp. I mentioned Perry McDonald that played at Georgetown in the mid-'80s, 84, 85, 86, 87. I believe he was there. He's going to be one of the coaches at my camp. Another guy named Michael Blunt that played at Tulane University. One of my high school teammates was King of Zulu last year, a guy named Randolph Davis. So New Orleans still has a special place in my heart, even though I live in Seattle. I always try to go back and let the kids see me and let them know, hey, I made it from this same neighborhood that you're in, so never let somebody tell you what you can't do. I try to be that example, man. The most famous person from my neighborhood is Fats Domino. I don't know if your listeners know what that is, but I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. That was his biggest hit. But Seattle's a great place. It's a great place to raise kids. It's kind of slow motion, though, especially if you're coming from New York or from New Orleans. But it's a great place to raise a family. And my wife is from here, man. So like I said, I don't have much say so, Ariel. I'm stuck, man.
Hey man, happy wife, happy life, man.
Happy life. There you go. Yep.
That's wonderful, man. Like hearing your stories and your career and basically to where you at now. So as far as like me, as you know, I'm a new content creator. I've only been doing this for maybe about a year now. And this Gold School Retro is taking off slowly but surely. This episode is gonna be more special to me because you're the first actual player I physically had on here. And I really appreciate you coming here and taking that time to, give me a shot opportunity. Because a lot of guys that you're friends with, I've done shows already about, as you know. So definitely, you're always welcome to always come to my show whenever you want.
No, I thought you were cool, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, Eric. I don't normally do this. And just a few minutes ago, my wife walked out here. She's like, well, you don't need to be doing nothing for nobody for free. But sometimes you just get a feel for somebody, man. I just had a feeling because I get requests all the time, at least once a week about being on somebody's podcast. But for some reason, I decided to give you a shot, man, because I know what it's like. I'll never forget, like I said, when I was with the Houston Rockets and I wasn't playing, Rudy came to me one day in practice. He said, hey, man, I see how hard you're working. Just keep working hard and I'm going to give you a shot. And I honestly thought he was just talking. And I'll never forget it. We were in Atlanta getting ready to play the Atlanta Hawks. And the phone rings at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I was taking a nap. He said, hey, Rook. And I said, yeah. He's like, get ready. You're starting tonight. I said, excuse me? He said, yeah, you're starting tonight. And I'm thinking, damn, we're playing against Mookie Blaylock. Can I start tomorrow night? But I just felt comfortable with you, man, and wanted to give you a shot. I thought you guys did a great job. So thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, man. Definitely, like I said, you're more than welcome to come whenever you feel like it. And we'll definitely talk, aside from here. And it's definitely a dope episode, man. I really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, and I'll let the guys know you're cool, man, because I think that's what it's all about. When you told me the guys you did shows on, I reached out to all of them because I wanted to know, And like I said, I don't mind giving somebody a shot, but I'll let the guys. I know that you're cool, man. And I think once they understand, because so many people are coming at guys, man. You know,
Yeah.
and you say the wrong thing on the air, they put it out there, and then all of a sudden, guys are in the hot seat. So I appreciate you asking me some pretty cool questions and not asking me anything crazy where I got to try to embarrass myself or embarrass somebody else. So just keep doing what you're doing, man, and just, never take no for an answer.
No, I
Somebody
definitely
like
don't.
myself
Eldridge,
at some
I
point to say,
try a
yeah,
lot. I try a
hey, that's
lot.
all right. Well, keep trying, man. I didn't make it in the NBA till I was 27. How you like that? I was a
But
27-year-old rookie with Rudy Tom John
I,
is calling me Rook, one of the oldest damn dudes on the team. So don't take no for an answer.
I know, man. I'm 38, man. So, like I said, I got some things in there's some players that I got some work into. I'm just waiting on the words and dates, but I'm definitely I want to take off, and your kind words I definitely appreciate it, man, because it's what keeps me going, man. I hear from the
Yeah.
people that watch it. They tell me talk about this player, talk about that player, and I put a lot of my time in from work and all that, and then I wanted to take off, and I know I'm gonna make it happen. And there's no better team to have it with my brother Trippy. We do VSN. We got a lot of content creators on there. We do NFL, WNBA, you name it, we do it. Wrestling. Everybody's got their own platform and all under one umbrella. So
Yeah, I heard that, man.
It's gonna take off, and I'm glad that you're gonna. This episode is gonna be special to me because it was my first player, and I'm never gonna forget it. And the relationship I have with you is gonna be forever. So I definitely appreciate you coming on to the show.
No problem, Eric. Thanks for having me, man. You guys have a great day.
You too,
Yep.
man. Appreciate you.
All right, brothers. Peace.
Peace.